Today we're going to be talking about perspectives. And as readers, it's really important to pay attention to details. And when we're talking about the main characters, what's really important is to think about what does the character need and want, and what's getting in his or her way. So, I was thinking about Arthur, and we all know that his biggest desire is to win a short story contest and hopefully be an award-winning writer. He's going to dedicate his first book to his mom. And then I was thinking, the other thing that really seems to be on his mind is he wants to write his own opinion pieces for the newspaper. So as we're reading today and just thinking back to what we already read, I want you to consider, well, what's getting in his own way? What's the problem reaching these goals? Okay, and oh, there's the book right there. Oh, check this out. Speaking of perspective, ta-da! Thank you, Oliver. My new light up llama with shades, rose-colored glasses. All right. Anyhow, so last we left off, Kennedy was sharing the beginning of her story with Arthur. And remember, Arthur really wants to win that short story contest, but he also needs to provide feedback for Kennedy. So Kennedy writes, to please be honest, but I hope you like it. So here we go. Kennedy's untitled story, LOL. The brains of the alien were lavender and gray and splattered all over Sophie's perfectly matched brown and pink off-the-shoulder top and skinny jeans. She flicked her high ponytail over her shoulder, showing off her tiny pink rosebud earrings. Well, what should we do with it now? She asked nonchalantly, slinging her bazooka over her left shoulder. She wiped the gory blood from her hands on her back pockets and looked over at her partner. I'd say we should bury it deep, real deep, Tom replied in his somber bass tones. He looked at his own navy coveralls covered with a red and green flannel shirt. Well, I guess we should start digging, Sophie sighed, reaching for the shovel. Sophie woke with a start. It was that dream again. She tried to sit up, but found that her arms were still in the restraints, locked to the rails of her bed. She pulled hard, but the restraints just cut into her wrists again, leaving her writhing in pain. She yelled out, "Nurse!" But no one came. No one ever came during the daytime. Only if you screamed and cursed in the middle of the night would the nurses come, with their long needles glinting off the fluorescent lights of the hallway like golden teeth. What a cool simile. Helps create the mood. You need to keep it down over there. They'll hear you, whispered the scratchy voice of the old woman in the bed next to Sophie. They'll come, and they'll bite off your nose and your fingernails, and they won't stop. The old woman cackled madly. Of course, I wouldn't mind if they ate my fingers. I've been trying to chew them off for years. The woman's violet hospital gown was drooping, and her white hair was falling out. Or maybe she pulled it out. I need my Dunkin' Donuts. Sophie shivered. It had been 15 days that she had been in this hospital, and the dreams were getting worse. Dreams, though? No. She knew they were more than that. The aliens, were real. She had seen them. She had strangled one until its eyeballs burst out of its head in a gargantuan mess of crimson and white and light blue tendons all over her favorite teal dress, the one with the black piping and oversized buttons at the collar. She couldn't make that up, and she had the dry cleaning bill to prove it. From Arthur Bean to Kennedy Laurel. Wow, Kennedy, this is amazing. I think you've done a great job on starting your story. It's really scary. I can't wait to see what happens next. There's just one thing. I don't really get why you've described all the outfits of the characters. And would they even have a dry cleaner? That's weird. It seems out of place. I don't think you need those parts. Yours truly, Arthur Bean. November 29th. Dear RJ, I read Kennedy's story beginning and it's pretty great. I don't even know where to start. Mine needs to be better than Kennedy's story. I mean, I have lots of time, but I can't believe she started already. Mine will be funny and sad, scary and provocative. Sure, Sockland was great when I was in 6th grade, but now I'm in 7th grade. I have to do something amazing and I've got zip. To get inspired, I borrowed a copy of The Shining by Stephen King from Nicole's bookshelf yesterday. I figured it was okay because I live right next door and I plan on returning it when I'm done, but I didn't tell her that I took it. Nicole is pretty laid back about stuff like that. Whenever she has friends over, she's always like, take it, bring it back whenever. And since the librarian at the public library won't let me take out adult books, after that time my mom got angry at her for allowing me to take out the movie The Exorcist, then I didn't sleep for 2 months, I kind of have to borrow it under the radar. I want to read it because Stephen King is really famous and has written over 100 books, so it must be amazing. I don't think The Shining can be that scary, though. It's got a kid in it, and the family lives in a hotel, but it's like a haunted hotel. I wish we lived in a hotel instead of an apartment. It sounds pretty cool to me. In fact, it sounds like a Disney plot movie. Yours truly, Arthur Bean. December 1st. To whom it may concern. Please excuse Arthur Bean's absence from school the past 2 days. He's been having trouble sleeping and has had migraines in the mornings. Should you have any questions, please call me. Many thanks, Ernie B. December 1st. Dear RJ, The Shining is the scariest book ever written, but I couldn't stop reading it, and I can't tell if Stephen King is a genius or just a psycho. There are crazy ghosts and axes and murders and stuff. There was even a maze where the main guy chases his wife and kid through the maze in the dark and the snow. I am never going into a labyrinth again. It was so intense and I kept dreaming about it. Who comes up with this stuff? Yours truly, Arthur Bean. So it seems to me that one of the roadblocks Arthur is having, what's getting in his way of writing his story, even a draft of his story, is trying to find inspiration of his own. Remember earlier, he was talking about a story about a man fighting windmills, and Kennedy quite nicely said, kind of sounds like Man of La Mancha, the play that my parents took me to see. Now he's trying to read scary stories to get more inspiration, and all that happened was he ended up not being able to sleep. Okay, moving on. Peer tutoring program, progress report, session, December 2nd. Worked on Shakespeare stuff. Miss W, when even Artie doesn't like Shakespeare, why do we all have to suffer? We talked today about how the school board should be changing the curriculum, how we should watch more movies in class. Artie calls it visual literacy. It's pretty important to us as leaders of tomorrow, and we think you should look into changing the curriculum for next year, Robbie. Miss Whitehead, it's possible that Robbie and I have a shared hatred of overwritten plot lines and fancy words used for no reason. I think that says something. Arthur. From Kennedy to Arthur Bean, sent December 2nd. Hi, Arthur. Thanks for your suggestions. I know there wouldn't be a dry cleaning, silly. It was a joke. But I guess not a very good one, LOL. I can't wait to read your beginning. Do you want to send it to me? I have lots of time this week since our math teacher has the flu. No more circle graphs for me, LOL. Kennedy, happy face. From Arthur to Kennedy. Dear Kennedy, I don't have anything to send to you yet. I find my best method of work is to fully visualize my piece, and then I like to write it on paper first. I find the sound of the pencil on paper to be very creatively stimulating. But I can tell you what my story will be about. It's about a man and his family who live in a hotel. He's a writer, but the ghosts in the hotel haunt him. Then he goes crazy and tries to kill his family with an axe. His son is also psychic and can call up other psychic people, but his son also plays with ghosts and goes a little crazy. And the man's wife doesn't know what to do, so she cries all the time. She'll run around in a maze in a blizzard too, and she might die. It will likely be very frightening. Yours truly, Arthur Bean. And if any of you have watched The Shining, and I don't suggest it, you know the famous line, "Here's Johnny." From Kennedy to Arthur Bean. Wow, Arthur, that sounds complicated, but great. Scary, though, that the guy goes after his family with an axe. It sounds like one of those horror books my dad reads by Stephen King, or like a V.C. Andrews book. I love her books. Or something like that. I hope they all make it out of the hotel okay. Are you writing something for the last edition of the marathon this year? I'm doing an interview with Sandy on winning the boys volleyball championship. I already told him I was not going to go easy on him just because I'm his girlfriend. I'll be like Lois Lane interviewing Superman, LOL. I can't believe it's already so close to Christmas, LOL. Any suggestions on what guys like? I have to get something from my boyfriend, LOL. From Arthur Bean to Kennedy. Dear Kennedy, I guess the plot does sound a little complicated for a short story. Maybe I will look at something else. Back to the drawing board. Yours truly, Arthur Bean. Still trying to find some inspiration of his own. But he does write an article for the newspaper entitled "A Day in the Life, an Oscar-Worthy Film" by Arthur Bean. The AV Club at Terry Fox Junior High is showing their first feature this week in the drama room. A Day in the Life is a poignant and gripping account of an ordinary day at Terry Fox Junior High School. Shot as though seen through the eyes of an unnamed narrator, A Day in the Life follows an ordinary student through a day at school. Though the day begins normally, the heavy silence in the film clearly foreshadows the disaster that befalls at the end of the movie. A test in science, horrors. Our beloved narrator is clearly unprepared for such a crisis. A Day in the Life is reminiscent of the early works of Francis Ford Coppola, a surprise considering its collaborative dictatorial nature. Directorial. Oops, and I'm not going to reshoot this, so oh well. Oops. A different AV Club member has directed each scene, but the pistache styles makes it even more interesting. For example, each director uses music to fulfill its fullest emotional range, including the unique work of 8th grade student Liam Hasser, who uses Van Halen's "Jump" as the soundtrack for the basketball unit in gym. The supporting cast is equally as strong as the low voice of the narrator, played impeccably by ninth grade student Alfonso Miller. He sounds almost like Darth Vader. It's very sinister. Of particular note is the performance of Mr. Everett in an understated but nuanced walk-on role as the teacher. Some viewers with weaker stomachs may find the classroom scenes too much to handle. The emotion in the film can be overwhelming, so bring your handkerchief for a heart-wrenching scene that takes place during math class. This is a scene that will clearly be discussed in film critic circles for years to come. A Day in the Life plays in the drama room from 12 to 1 all week, December 6th through 10th. See it before someone spoils the twist ending. Hiya, Arthur. You definitely covered all the elements of the film. However, I am having trouble understanding the tone of your piece. Are you being sincere or sarcastic? Maybe you thought my performance wouldn't win me any Golden Globes. Huh, the shock of it. Goodbye, Hollywood. Your praise is overwhelming, and some readers may read it as being insincere. If you're available, we can meet during the lunch hour to discuss changes to your review. It would be great to see you take some of the feedback from earlier articles and apply it to your next piece. Okay, buddy? Mr. E. Dear Mr. Everett, you told me to be more positive in my articles. This is as positive as I can be, particularly for one of the most boring films I have ever sat through, and my dad made me watch Citizen Kane once, so I know what boring movies look like. Perhaps my own series of articles would be a better way for me to use my editorial skills. I'd love to meet with you to talk about my ideas for articles. Yours truly, Arthur Bean. Clearly, another thing getting in Arthur's way is listening to the feedback from his teachers and having positive relationships with them. Not only Miss Whitehead, but Mr. Everett, who seems like a pretty easygoing guy. So, not only is it affecting his performance in English class, but it's also affecting his chances at writing an opinion piece for the newspaper. Okay. Junior Authors Contest, just a reminder to work on your stories during the winter break. Final drafts are due April 1st, no exceptions. Finalists in the school will be published in the spring edition of the marathon and put to a school-wide vote. Remember to use your creative writing partners for advice in editing and as a sounding board for your great ideas. Should you have any questions before the holidays, please see Ms. Whitehead by 4 o'clock on December 17th. Happy writing! It's getting really complicated because Arthur, in order to win the short story, really should be relying on some feedback from Kennedy, but hasn't provided her with anything because he has nothing. Assignment, character diaries. Choose your favorite character from A Midsummer Night's Dream and write a diary entry referencing a scene from the play. Your diary entry should demonstrate your understanding of the material we have covered and show some insight into how a character may be feeling at a certain moment in the play. Due December 9th. Peer Tutoring Program Progress Report. Session December 7th. Worked on Shakespeare Diary Assignment. We edited Robbie's assignment. It went all right. Arthur. Here is my assignment that RT helped me with. He also moved around some sentences and made it sound more nice. We also worked on better rhymes for my love poem, P-O-M. Here it is, Robbie. Dear diary, I'm in love with Hermia, but she is in love with Lysander. This is terrible. I try so hard to make her like me, but nothing works. I've known her forever. We've played sports together since we were in Italian kindergarten. but she just thinks of me as a friend and wants me to be in love with her friend, Helena. Helena is ugly. And she told me that I was stupid and the worst shortstop she'd ever seen. But Hermia is still really nice to me. I just wish she wasn't running away with Lysander because I get really bad hay fever in the forest and it's even worse at night. When I catch up with her and Lysander, I'm going to give her this love poem that I wrote. Hermia, Hermia, you are a beaut. I think you are nice. I think you are cute. I like your sweet smile. I like your round face. So go out with me now and show your good taste. Later, diary, Demetrius. And there is the picture and the poem, which you can barely see, but you will notice when you look at the attachments to today's lesson that I have some Google Slides, which will go over what we talked about and kind of review that. And you'll also get a better look at Robbie's drawings because I think you're missing out because it's hard to see. And you can reread his lovely poem to Hermia. So what do you need to do today? Well, you need to be reading in your independent books and thinking about a main character in your book and what is it they really desire, what do they want, and what is getting in their way. So you have your choice again of how you want to respond to this. You might want to try the T-chart or any other kind of graphic organizer, whatever works for you is fine. And again, I've had people taking pictures in their paper journals, which I'd love to see. So whatever works for you. And yes, please share it to Classroom for a participation grade. And the other thing you can do is, I noticed that a lot of people were submitting their answers to those riddles, and I have to say I was pretty impressed that several of you were pretty darn close to getting everything right. So I'm going to share a key and you can check to see what the right answers were. And again, that was a student request and I'm always looking for student requests. So if you have an idea, something fun to do on a Friday or something you'd like to see more of, do that. And I will learn how to do the Google Meet so the debacle does not happen again. I hope you have an awesome day. I miss you very much. Ruby Jim says, see ya. Have a good day. Bye.